She wanted to push the button and tell him her name, wishing she hadn't withheld it at the start of this trip, but she didn't want to take her hands off the wheel. The sky got dark, fast. I hadn't thought there was much moon at all, blocked as it was by heavy snow clouds. When something big blotted it out, the road went to total blackness in the space of a breath. She gripped her steering wheel and tapped the brakes, hearing Brian's voice in her head telling her not to stomp them too hard. The car slowed, but not enough, and she couldn't see the truck's taillights anymore on her own headlamps. The world spun in slow motion as her tires lost their grip on the slick road. Hello, everyone. I'm Heather. We're on our 20th book, okay, which is Below by Laurel Hightower. This is apparently a book about Mothman, which is like a southern legend, like this like creature. And I am loving it. Loving it. Like, okay, I'm only on page 21. But I am fully in love with the vibe. Okay, so it's this woman. She's just been divorced, right? She was in like a sort of mildly emotionally abusive relationship, so her husband was sort of quite controlling of the things that she did, but also he sort of took care of things for her, so it took her a while to realize that she needed to leave him because she sort of craved the sort of comfort and protection that he provided. Like, she sort of at times liked that he took care of everything, but obviously he'd then, you know, sort of manipulate her and sort of bash her a bit, like her decisions, and sort of make her second guess her decisions all the time. Anyway, it's really late at night. She's driving to this convention to meet her friends, but it's in the mountains. It's really rural. It's in the middle of nowhere. Okay, it's night. It's snowing, and she's sort of like thinking about these things in her mind as she's going, thinking about how if he was to show up right now and say, "Okay, baby, give me the keys, I'll sort this out," she'd do it immediately because she's scared. It's something new, you know, but she knows deep down that she's better off and she needs to sort of be brave. So she's on these roads, driving alone, and she's scared. She doesn't like it, but she's going forward anyway. And she sees something in the road. It's just sort of a van parked smack in the middle of the road. She doesn't see it till she's right up on it, and it's facing the wrong way. She slams on her brakes. She sort of finishes right in front of it. And she sees in the cab, there's like this guy with like an insane grin, you know? She said the grin's like completely unnatural on him. He's not saying anything. He's just looking at her with this grin. And then she's staring at him. She's like, this is the most terrifying thing ever. I can't process this. He opens the door then to come after her, and she freaks out. She backs all the way up. She hightails it off. She gets to this diner, right? She's the only one in the diner except for like maybe a couple other people. It's like flickering dim lights. She's got a cup of coffee. She's like gripping it. She's like, what the F? She's completely shaken up. And this guy, he sort of says, ooh, that was scary. Turns out it's a different guy. He was sort of next to her when it happened, like in his like mega truck, his sort of like semi like lorry truck. And like, she knows, this Addie, this main character girl, she knows that she needs to not talk to this guy or get close to this guy because she met him at a truck stop, and she's a woman, and she knows that women go missing at truck stops. You know, she's not stupid, but also she knows she's got like a bit of a dependency problem, and that it would be really easy for her to just sort of hand all her problems over to this guy so he can sort of sort them out. And he seems the type, as well, as he's like quite worried about her. He keeps sort of like checking up on her and stuff. But she's like, leave it. So she's getting in her car. She's ready to go. It's like starting to snow now. Now there's like an electrical fault in her car. Like the radio sort of keeps going on, like staticky on its own. She's like, I didn't even turn the car on. I don't know why that's happening. So this trucker guy comes up again. He's like, are you okay? You know, everything okay with your car? She said about the static thing, you know, sort of like keeping her distance from him, you know, keeping the window only a little bit down. And he's like, yeah. There's like a weird electromagnetic thing by here. Like truckers talk about it all the time. Things like your cab light going on, or like maybe your radio goes on and you think you hear voices, things like that by here. She's like, oh, that's normal, is it? And he's like, yeah, here it is. So then he gives her his ex-wife's mini CB, like CB radio that truckers use. And he's like, oh, I'm gonna give you this. I'm gonna tune it to my channel. And then, you know, if you're in trouble, there's not a lot of cell service out here in the mountains, you can let me know. So then they take off. And now it's like this low, calm, like midnight talk radio vibe where they're just talking on the CB to each other as they're driving along in the dark in the snow. And he's like telling her southern stories, you know. He's like, oh, when I went fishing, blah, blah, blah. She's digging it, and she's thinking about how, like, comforting, you know, and how, like, safe she feels now compared to before. But then all of a sudden there's something in the road again. There's like something that blacks out the remaining light, and everything gets dark. And then she can't find the truck, and then she sees the truck jackknifed in the road, and she slams on the brakes, but the truck goes over the bridge. That's where we are at the minute. Holy shit for a vibe. I am eating it up. I love it, I love it, I love it. I've done a lot of these kinds of drives. Like, I used to drive all the time between Boulder, Colorado and Seattle, Washington. It takes like a full 24 hours of driving, so 12 hours each. And then I'd sort of sleep in truck stop parking lots in my car, which I know you shouldn't do, but it's just like the cheapest, easiest, quickest way to sort of do it, especially when you're trying to like haul ass across the country. So I've had loads of this sort of like this feeling of like a late night rural dark road talk radio feeling, you know. And also my dad and my grandpa used to use CB radios. Like, my grandpa was a trucker and my dad used to sort of use them in like army contexts and stuff. So like I'd fall asleep at night to like my dad talking on the CB late at night, sort of when we go skiing or something. It's like really sort of a calming sort of sound, you know, and sort of hearing that even though you're all alone, like other people are around, you know, and they're sort of just talking to each other or like to you or whatever. We haven't even gotten to the scariest bit yet. Like, okay, like insane smiler guy, and that gets me. Also, obviously something blocked out the sound and like the static radio keeps coming on, like that sort of creepiness. But like, even before the full creepiness is in effect, I'm already digging the vibe. But like the creepiness bit on top, like I hope this book just keeps like ringing all my bells. Had the truck somehow obscured the light? Well, that didn't make sense. She'd been moving, but Mads wasn't, and the truck sure as hell hadn't shifted enough to block out the stars. Yet there was nothing else in view. No, I don't see, except all at once she did. A night sky blacker than it should have been, devoid of stars or hope, and two glowing red eyes burning in perfect darkness, standing between Addie and the mouth of the tunnel. What? No. Somewhere in the distant past of cultural memory, her ancestors had known this thing that stalked her in the darkness, or creatures like it, and learned to stay away. Ooh, I like that. That's what I've been telling you, hun, said Brian. Your mind is slippery. It always has been. Look at you right now, talking to a dead man. That's why you needed me. Why you've always needed me. How else are you supposed to know what's real and what's not? His assertion held just enough truth to get under her skin. He had substituted his judgment for hers over and over, explained to her calmly why she was wrong, and made her process her experiences through the lens of himself. But Addie didn't think that was because her own mind or senses were faulty. It was just how Brian was, how a lot of men dealt with her and other women. If they hadn't experienced something directly, then it didn't exist, or wasn't as big a deal as some hysterical woman was making it. Well, fucking hell. That's just too much dead clarity for a Wednesday afternoon. I'm gonna need to take a minute. Okay, y'all. Something has come in the mail today, and I just want to talk about it for a second. It's the race pack for the half marathon, which is basically next week. So, like, I don't really know what to say about it, other than that I'd like to mention that it's here. and like say that I'm not worried. Like this? No, I'm not worried. This is fine. I'm fine with this. Like, you know what? We're gonna open it. We're gonna open it right now. See what kind of goodies we get with our race. Am I right? But first I think we'll open a drink, you know, and then we'll slam that one, and then we'll have another one. And with that one, we'll open it up. Actually, you know what we're gonna do first? I'm gonna go running. I'm gonna go running, and then when I open it, I'll have like, you know, runner face, and I'll feel more like a person who runs, like more like a runner receiving a running pack, instead of someone who just receives things like that by mistake. Okay, let's open this now. This is fine. Emergency contact information, like your next of kin in case you cook. That shit's very important. Okay, it's got a race map. Okay, can you see? I live roughly over here, roughly in the mile 9 area. So what's good is that if I beef this whole thing, I'll probably do it before mile 9. So my neighbors won't actually see my shame. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I finished this book, and it was fucking brilliant. I love the shit out of this book. Like, I think some things could have been explained more, you know, like some of the aspects of it could have been given sort of more detail and more wrap up without sort of, you know, losing any of the mystery of the book. But, you know, very minor situation, like, you know, doesn't really detract from the awesomeness of the book that much. Like, the main shock of this book for me, and like no spoilers, I promise, 0 spoilers. Okay, we're just kind of a light chat about like my situation in regards to this book. All of the reviews and blurbs and, you know, publishing information, everything about this book had suggested to me before I read it that it's just like your everyday sort of crappy creature feature. Do you know what I mean? Like a sort of shallow, like, you know, jump scare, gore type sort of 80s movie creature feature. And even afterwards, sort of after reading it, and then going back through like forums and sort of like vlogs and stuff about it, no one was really talking about anything to do with like a deeper meaning in the book, or like a deeper theme or a stronger theme of the book besides just it being a creature feature. And I find that really strange because, okay, yeah, it's a creature feature and it's like a bit creepy and a bit scary and like, holy shit, Laurel Hightower's the queen of a vibe, okay? But the main thing that hit me really hard about this book is what it says about this woman's life in relation to the men in her life and in her society, and, you know, how her whole life has been lived sort of as the daughter of all men. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, every man in her life, whether it's her dad or her ex-husband or just men on the road or whatever, sort of don't trust her to be her own human and to make her own decisions and be an equal in society. She's like the daughter of everyone. Like, she must be protected and scolded and not trusted and, you know, questioned and guided at all points, you know. And yet, this is a brilliant creature feature, and it was so creepy, and I loved the writing, and I loved everything about it. But the thing that I loved most was this, this underground sort of message of this woman who's just realized that that's her life, and she's fucking had enough of it. Do you know what I mean? Why is no one talking about that? Did that hit no one else really hard? Or is it just me? Just super relatable for just me? Like, that can't be true. Anyway, loved the fuck out of this one. I reckon this is the best one of Shorty September. Like, I know I said 3 Elegies for Kosovo was the best one of Shorty September, and at the time I believe it was, but I believe now it has been knocked down to number 2. And also that this one maybe is not just the best book of Shorty September, but the best book of the year? Might I say it? I think I just have. I've just said it. Also, apparently, this book is Laurel Hightower's 3rd book. I've never heard of her before, but I heard of her now, and I'm gonna get those 2 books right fucking now on the internets right now. Also, I finished The Space Between by Diana Gabaldon, and now I'm a whole book up, bitches. Pressure's off now, okay? Get to a day where I don't finish a book, fuck it, who cares? I'm a whole book up, okay? So I started the audiobook for The Space Between by Diana Gabaldon yesterday. So I was gonna make that my original Outlander novella that I was gonna read. But then I read a different one because it was a Halloween one and it popped up on my Libby and I was like, I'll trade them out. But then I was like, actually no, I do actually want to do that one, The Space Between, so I did it as well. And I just finished it, and to be honest, no one got it on, okay? Which is a disappointment. Diana Gabaldon, what are you doing? Okay, what are you doing writing these books where no one gets it on? Okay? But other than that, fully enjoyed it. You've got like the Con Saint-Germain, who's like this like villain guy, but now he's like not as bad apparently, and it turns out he's like the son of some people. Like, I won't give it away or anything, but if you're into Outlander and you've not read the novellas, you've only read like the actual like thick books, I say read the novellas, because there's shit in there that's important, you know? And I feel like they don't really explain it as much in the big books. They sort of just brush over it and you learn loads of cool stuff that you didn't know. So I'm gonna go with 4 stars on that one because Diana Gabaldon is a wordsmith of beauty. I love her writing. I love her characters. She's so imaginative. Every book she writes, there's like a banger ending as well. Like, oh my god, I did not see that coming, like that sort of crap. So, you know, 4 stars, definitely. Okay, tomorrow's book. It's just this one. Richard Botkin, So the Wind Won't Blow It All Away. Takes place in the Pacific Northwest, where I'm from. So that will be nice. If you have gotten this far, thank you for watching. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, how's Shorty September going? I'm loving the updates. Please let me know down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.